concern. Georgie Farmer, everybody. Give a round of applause.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you, and obviously, not only are we fans of the show Wednesday, but as you've seen when you came here, you might feel very familiar with the setups that we have.
I know, yeah. I saw them and I thought, wow, it's like being back on set.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's weird because it's Saturday. Right?
Oh.
I was waiting for Aaron to boo me. Okay, that's the only joke you'll hear today that was terrible. In all seriousness, how has today been going for you as far as the Comic-Con and meeting all your lovely fans?
Yeah, it's been great. It's always nice to meet you guys. So thank you for coming down and coming out. And it's been fun.
What's sort of the feedback you've been getting about the show? Because, I mean, even before I saw it, everything on Twitter is about the show. It's gotten so much great press, but what's been the feedback for you since you joined the show?
Oh, it's been amazing. I don't think, I think everyone said this quite a bit, but I don't think anybody expected the reception and the effect that it had on people and just how much people fell in love with it. And yeah, it's felt so it's felt nice to be a part of something that, feels like has made an impact and made a difference in people's lives, I guess, even in the slightest way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's blown up in the best possible way. And again, it was one of those shows that even if you weren't watching it, you have to, because everyone is talking about it and excited about it. But there's been many iterations of Wednesday, obviously starting with The Addams Family, the old show, The Addams Family. And then what I grew up on was the Christina Ricci Addams Family movies. Were you a fan of those movies or even the show? Or did you have to kind of go back and research when you joined Wednesday?
I remember watching the Christina Ricci stuff when I was younger. But I think the intention always was, behind this show from Miles, Al, and Tim was to create a new generation Wednesday and Addams Family, I guess, whilst paying homage to the classics and the comics, which I think they did in this one. And I think, I think the show's success is really down to what Miles, Al, and Tim did, and also what Jenna did, because Jenna made Wednesday her own and really brought Wednesday into this modern day, and so now she's a role model for younger people now to look up to, and, she's like the Wednesday of our generation,
She is indeed, and I found it really eye-opening, and I felt very old when people have come up to me and not realized that Christina Ricci, who has red hair in the show, that she's the original Wednesday.
I know, right?
Right? They don't know that.
That was crazy. Well, it was so cool to see them, if you would ever see them, act together, it was and we sort of knew before anyone else knew, and so, we were all like, this is pretty legendary, Yeah, so that was really, really cool.
It's very cool. It's sort of, we have a lot of Stranger Things cast members up here that we talk to, and it's kind of like how they integrate sort of 80s characters into Stranger Things. But speaking of that show, what are you into other than the shows that you're on? I mean, as far as, we have different genres here, Harry Potter, Star Trek, Star Wars. What are you watching and what are you a fan of?
Yeah, I've always been a big Lord of the Rings fan. My brother is a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and so I grew up pretty much as a rite of passage, I guess, in my house was to watch all the Lord of the Rings movies, and I used to dress up as Legolas and stuff. So yeah, Lord of the Rings was a big one, and then, I don't know if it's really within this world, but I just finished watching Succession.
Yeah.
Which is in my opinion, one of the best shows ever made.
Without spoilers, what did you think of the ending? It's now come to a close, unfortunately. Really?
Incredible. So well done. Yeah. That's how you do a TV show. Yeah. Just everything from that show. Even the way it's filmed, it's filmed on actual film. The direction, the writing, the acting, it's just top tier,
What show have you ever watched, just between friends here, that the ending had you no? What ending did you hate? And why was it lost? No, I'm kidding. I do hear that a lot, though.
I don't really have one, most of the shows that I've really sort of gotten into, I feel like I've been so engaged in the show that no matter what the ending, I sort of, find
Find your closure with it?
Yeah, I guess in a way, found my closure with it. Yeah.
Do you have any shows that are sort of your comfort shows? Like, maybe
Oh,
an
yeah.
escape or sitcoms?
Yeah, The Office.
Yeah.
The U.S. Office.
I'll say, which office, though? There's two.
The U.S. Office.
Carrie Ann
Yeah.
says the U.S. one's the best one. Well, hey, you're talking to an American, so
I
I'll take
agree.
it.
I actually agree. I know that's a really controversial decision, and people might,
Oops.
come for me for that. But honestly, The Office is a fantastic show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Carell.
That's what she said.
Yeah, hey-o. Hey-o. No, there has been some controversy. Someone else just last weekend said that the British version of The Office was the only one, and that's the only one that matters. And I was like, oh, ouch.
No.
Yeah, no. Georgie
They don't
says,
know what they're talking about.
Georgie says no. You heard it here first. Well, I'm going to have one more question then, you guys. If you want to raise your hand, we have Aaron came all the way from America just to talk to us.
No, I didn't.
Okay, he's Scottish, and I've challenged him to have an American accent. We've got some questions over here, but another question from me. So as far as this weekend, we have some amazing people, as we mentioned. John Cleese is here, Danny Glover, the cast of Buffy. Was there anyone this weekend that you were looking forward to meet, or any starstruck moments that you can tell us about?
Well, I was looking forward to seeing Jamie. From
Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, hi Jamie. Yeah, so I messaged him actually when I got in yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, hi man, what's up?" And he was like, "Oh, I couldn't make it," which I know he's very sorry that he can't be here, and he wanted me to say that. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I've sort of in this past 6 months, maybe since the show has come out, I've found myself meeting so many incredible people that I feel like I've sort of just been starstruck for 6 months, just constantly.
That's cool.
So yeah.
Continual starstruck. Very cool. We've got a question from this lovely lady on the right.
What was it like auditioning for Wednesday, and how did you feel when you got the part?
So I had just actually applied to go to university. I was going to study film at Bournemouth, and so that's where I sort of that's what I thought I was going to go and do, and then I did the self-tape, and then I did another tape, and then I did a screen test. And then it was only really when I sort of found out that I was doing the screen test that I sort of thought that it would be possible. And then the idea of Tim and Jenna being on a Zoom call was just crazy to me. And then it happened, and I was like, oh my God, that is Tim Burton, and he just said my name. That's a real pinch me moment. So then did that, and then I can't even remember how long it was. I think it was only a couple days, but it felt like years. To the point where I turned my phone off, and I was like, I can't, I just can't look at it anymore, it's just driving me crazy. And then I turned my phone on, and I had a whole bunch of missed calls from my agent, and then called them back, and they was like, you got the part? And I just immediately I think I cried a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Because I guess I was just so sort of stuck on going to university, and doing that. And then this thing just came in that I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe my luck. So, yeah.
We're so glad that you did get the part. Do you have any early memories of Tim Burton as far as films that you might have seen or sort of his style?
Oh, yeah. I remember growing up, Edward Scissorhands was my first favorite movie.
It's my favorite too.
And I remember saying that in school, and everybody sort of thinking I was the weirdo, and I liked it. I was like, yeah, that's right. I am that's my favorite film. And then I remember watching Alice in Wonderland that he did, and just being amazed by that, and Sleepy Hollow, and
Oh, I loved Sleepy Hollow.
just
Good one.
incredible movies.
Yeah.
And then Beetlejuice too. I actually came to Beetlejuice pretty late in life. But when I watched that movie, I was like, wow, this is a classic movie. So good.
Did you find it scary? I was really scared of Beetlejuice as a kid, especially the end scenes and
Yeah.
the bridal dress and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a little bit, but then I sort of I don't know. I think when you watch Tim's world, you're so... I find it comforting that he takes you to this other world,
Yeah.
and it's it makes it just such a magical experience. Tim for me has always sort of solidified what the magic of cinema should be.
Yeah.
He takes you into a different world, and when you go and watch his stuff, you're taken away for however long, and it's just such an important thing. I think, especially as I've gotten older, I've really sort of, realized how much we need that, in life and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, and his originality is, his signature Tim Burton, you can
yeah.
always tell. What's he like as a person, though? Because I think we all have an idea of, like, kind of this zany, spooky character. But as a person, as a director...
Well, he's really cool. Like, he's just one of those people that you meet and you're like, wow, of course that's how Tim Burton would be. And, like, he's so... like, when we were filming, he was so... like Pacific. Well, that came out weird. I don't know.
I gotcha.
Thank you. Yeah, so, he would... There's this really famous story about him and Jenna's fringe that he, like, spent, like, I think it was, like, 30 minutes on the first day sort of adjusting her fringe. And then I remember with the snakes that I had, we did, like, 3 or 4 different prosthetic fittings of it, and I would go down and he would look at me and he would sort of like twiddle each one and he would take a step back and look and then go back in and he'd be like, nah, it's not right, and he was always moving, he didn't like to sit down, he was constantly like back and forth, it was just the most incredible energy to be around. Like there was nothing better than being on a set with like him, Jenna, Emma. Like it was just incredible,
What a
Very
legend.
magical.
We've got a question here on the right. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi.
What was your absolute favourite scene to film and why?
I think probably the one in the taxidermy thing when I sort of asking it out, because that was like a audition scene I think of mine too, and when we filmed that, we were sort of like the last 2 left. Everyone had sort of gone home for Christmas, so it was like me, Emma, and Tim left in Romania, and that was so much fun to film that scene. We just had such a laugh, and we were also in this like crazy, that's something else about this show. Like the production design and the set design was so incredible, So we were standing in this shop, like this actual shop that they'd built, with all these different like taxidermies, and there was one dressed like Elvis, and there was one dressed like Danny Zuko. It was like just so cool. That was my favorite.
Very cool. Great question. Thank you so much. We've got a question from a fabulous cosplayer over here. By the way, we have seen some amazing cosplay, and the first time we're here in Harrogate, so round of applause to all of our cosplayers. We have people from Scoops Ahoy running around. Everyone looks amazing. Great job.
Did you guys see the Avatar guys, by the way?
Yes.
Jesus.
I was going to ask him if he was a Smurf, and then I thought that would be rude, but just it made me giggle in my own head. What are you, some kind of Smurf? And then I thought that's not funny, so I didn't do it. Sorry. Poison Ivy, you have the floor, madame.
Thank you. So you had mentioned that you were about to go to university when you got your role. Now that you've hit stardom, is going to university not an option, or
I don't
have
know
you put
about
on the back burner?
I don't know if I've hit stardom. I don't know. Well, thank you very much for the question, and I'm very humbled that you would say that. I think for me, I've always really loved acting, and so right now I feel like I'm in just such a lucky opportunity, and I feel so lucky to be a part of this show that I really want to explore, acting and explore this world further and other worlds further so much. But I was going to go to school for film, and I've always loved cinematography. So maybe at some point, I'd love to go back and do it. Maybe at some point. I think, especially for acting too, it's so important to have real world and real life experiences. That, and in turn, is going to, affect your work and make you a better actor, hopefully. So yeah, you've made me think now. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go back.
It's a good question if you're like, I didn't think of that. Not only that, but my next question was going to be, and you answered it, if your university plans were to do with acting and film and things like that. So would something behind the scenes interest you maybe later with cinematography, directing?
Yeah, well, I just love cinematography. Even on this show. Well, to be honest with you, I felt like I got sort of an education in film making by by doing this show anyway. You know, like being on a set, you learn probably so much. And what I would try and do was, you know, I would just try and take in as much as possible, especially when you're seeing people at the top of their craft working, you know. Tim and David, who was the DOP for Tim's episodes, and Fabrizio, the camera operator, and then George, the first AD, they worked so well. And so seeing that, watching them work together was like an education in filmmaking anyway. And so that's why this show was such a blessing, you know, because it was just such a well-rounded experience. Yeah.
Very cool. So either university or work directly with Tim Burton. Pretty cool.
I know, yeah. It's great. Honestly, when I say it, it's like, how did I pull this off?
How did I get here? We've got a lovely lady here with a question right in the middle.
So, what was the hardest scene to film that you were in?
Sorry,
Hardest
I can't.
scene to film. She's right there, yeah.
Hi.
What was the hardest scene to film?
I think, what's the hardest scene? Do you know what? It was probably something like outside. Do you know when no spoilers here, if anyone hasn't seen it, cover your ears. When the school's burnt down at the end, and you know how everyone's like out in the woods? So that was filmed at like 4 a.m. and it was like one of the last shooting days. And it was so cold. Like, we filmed in Romania in the winter. So this was probably like March, Romania, cold winter weather. And it was like ice cold. And, you know, the costume department were great. They gave us thermals and everything. But, you know, once you took off those jackets, you're in the deep. And like, you know, we had to like, there was this moment where we all had to stand around and all of us were just like shaking. So those are pretty hard. But to be honest with you, for the most part, it was so much fun. It felt like summer camp. And yeah, so the very minimal hardships were that it was cold.
When you got to meet the cast, was it sort of an instant chemistry? I mean, how was the camaraderie between everybody?
Yeah, it's strange. It's so nice. Like, I think, obviously, when people are on a show together, you always hear like, oh yeah, you know, we were so close and all of that stuff. And it gets to a point where you're like, oh yeah, sure, you know, you're just saying that. But honestly, truthfully, we just really got so lucky. Everybody got on so well, you know. And we were in Romania for 8 months. We were all so far from home. And we were filming under like very strict like COVID restrictions and stuff. So we had to, we had to be very, very cautious, you know. And so we would but we relied on each other so much, and we all really helped each other out. You know, it was a very long, tough shoot. There were a lot of delays. There were a lot of things that didn't go to plan and stuff like that. So we all just became so close. And then by the end of it, by the time that we all left, you know, I think it really hit us at that point just how close that we had all gotten. And yeah, luckily, you know, we keep in contact still, and you know, so it's good.
Fabulous. We have time for maybe 2 more questions. We've got one. Oh, this lovely lady here. Hi there.
What's the funniest scene?
What's the funny? Okay, so behind the scenes, I mean, it wasn't funny in the show, but behind the scenes, you know when Ajax shows Enid into the Nightshades library in the last episode, there was external circumstances around the shoot putting a lot of pressure on this particular scene, because it was like, you know, I think it was like the one scene out of the whole entire episode that Jenna wasn't in, and so it was like, you know, at this point, like, we could only film this scene. And I don't know, it had been a very tense couple days, and for some reason I ended up messing up one of my lines. I said Principal Reams instead of Principal Weems, and that like just set everybody off laughing. And then, like, honestly, for about probably 10 takes, none of us could keep a straight face. And like, you know, Joy comes in and she's like, what's going on? And, you know, I'm like, she murdered Weem. Like, because I had to like really sort of focus on not saying it. And it's like not a funny scene, you know, it's meant to, the circumstances are meant to be very high and tense. And we were all just laughing to the point where our lovely first AD, a guy called Amir, came up to us, who was the nicest and most lovely first AD in the world. And then he came up to us and he was like, "Yeah, guys, we should, really stop the laughing now. We gotta get this done." So yeah, that was very, very funny.
You got told off a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Awesome. With time for maybe one more question. Don't be shy. Last question of the last panel of the day. Anybody? No? Can I fangirl then for a moment? I have to ask you this.
Sure.
So we have so many actors from so many different things here. When you were becoming an actor, started to think of becoming an actor, who was your icon? Like, who did you love to study and wanted to emulate?
For me, I've always anything that River Phoenix ever did. Yeah. He was a big one. Big fan of Michael Shannon. Yeah. Too. I think he's just incredible. Obviously, the classic greats, your Leos, your Robert De Niro's, your Al Pacinos. I just watched Heat actually yesterday again, which is such a great movie. Yeah, and just now, I think we're so lucky. Like, there's so much stuff out there being made, and there are so many great actors doing great work. I mean, just like I know I spoke about Succession earlier, but like, it's just incredible. I mean, Jeremy Strong is like just beyond words how incredible he is in that show. So yeah, probably, sorry, I went all around the houses with that question, but yeah, River Phoenix, I'd probably say it was my first. I want to be like that guy.
It's a really, really good one. And some people don't even know his work, to this day. And he was such a great actor. Very...
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, for me, it was like when I saw him do... I remember when I started acting and I went to like acting classes or whatever, I had a great acting teacher called Bryn Williams who sort of said to me, because I went to a theatre school and so a lot of the acting would be, not really acting. And so he sat us down and he said, look, if you really want to be a great actor, take a look at these guys' work. And he, told us about these 5 different actors. Yeah. And yeah.
And that one stuck with you. Very interesting. Well, as we leave here, this has been an amazing Comic-Con, and thanks to you guys for all the amazing questions. But after you leave Harrogate, what are you looking forward to professionally and personally? What's next for Georgie?
I think I'm going to be doing a play, but I can't say too much about now. But I'm going to be doing a play in London over the summer that I can't wait to do, and yeah, hopefully. Season 2?
Yes. Thursday. No? I'll stop. I promise. Oh, dear. What are you looking forward to going into the continuation of Wednesday? What would you like to see happen?
I can't wait. I just know, I can't say anything, but I know that it's so cool, guys. You guys are going to really, really like it, and just know that Tim, Miles, Al, Jenna, they are all so protective of Wednesday and all the other characters, that it's gonna be so much fun. There's so much stuff to explore, and it's gonna be fun.
Well, we are very excited, and we are so grateful that you would be here and share some of your insight. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Georgie Farmer.
Thank you. Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.